All right, here's the centerpiece of week 0, the Emerald, if you will. Nebraska, a 13-point favorite over Northwestern in Ireland. You guys ever been to Ireland before? Let's go, Rece, Bill.
Yes.
I have not. And I live in South Boston, which is an Irish sort of enclave here in the States. But no, I actually may go next year.
Is it good for podcasts to reveal what, it doesn't bother me in the least, but to reveal what some would consider a somewhat embarrassing fact about yourself?
That's what podcasts are for.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have, nor have I ever possessed a passport.
Ooh.
The only time I've ever left the United States of America was when I worked in Flint, Michigan, and you could go to Windsor, Ontario for dinner just by showing them your driver's license. And my newlywed wife at the time, and I did that on several occasions, but I've never applied for or had a passport. So the answer to your question about Ireland is no. But prior to COVID, the show was on the way there for Notre Dame Navy. So I was going to get to do that, but I just haven't. So
it's a wide world out there, Rece.
There are a lot of great things to see across the fruited plain of the United States of America too.
I've been to all 50 states.
Have you?
And I love them all. But yeah, the world outside there's broad and vast and pretty entertaining.
Well,
what country would you tell Rece to go to, Bill? If he could go if you could plan his first trip.
I already have number one on my list if I ever choose to do this. But go ahead.
Which
Bill.
is?
What would it be? Italy, followed closely by Germany.
Okay. I was going to, and this is just recency on my part. I went to Germany in May for soccer stuff, and it is probably, in terms of this is what I've tried to explain to my wife and kid. We're going to get over there at some point, and I think Germany is the perfect place to start just because it's easy. Obviously, they speak more English in certain parts than others, and that can be an obstacle sometimes, but most of them speak English, and the trains are mostly on time, and you can get around, and it's a pretty nice first step before you go into more complicated places, I would say.
We did go to Montreal once, and I was told before we went there, and again, this was when you could show your driver's license and drive through. And I was told that that they, even though that everyone speaks English, that many times if they know that you're a visitor, they choose not to. So I took Spanish. I don't speak it well or anything, but I never took any French. But I learned one French phrase that disarmed people, and then they went ahead and spoke English to me that I used on a couple of occasions. And I try to stay away from foul language, but I thought in this particular instance, it might deliver the intended message. So I would say to people, if they, were acting as if they didn't understand me, I would say, mon français mange merde, which is my French eat something quite unappetizing. They would then chuckle and then speak to me in English, and it was very helpful. So.
Well, German is the opposite. German, as soon as even if you try to speak the language, as soon as you kind of, there's a tone that's a little off, an accent that's not quite right, they'll go American, and then they'll flip to perfect English just to prove that they know English better than German.
And that's probably true. I had friends come to our house and visit, newlywed couple, one of whom who works with us, and his bride is from Japan, and she speaks very little English. So I had him over the course of dinner teaching me very small phrases in Japanese so that I could try to make her feel as welcome as possible. Pete, if you haven't met the great Fu, you will when you're traveling with us on College Game Day. Fu is
I might have met Fu at the draft. Was he at the draft?
Oh yeah, absolute legend. I mean, this dude can make miracles happen.
All right.
Where were we on this podcast anyway?
We're gonna pick a very mediocre football game that we're all gonna watch like it's the AFC title game.
Yeah. Who's first, Taylor? Who's picking Nebraska, Northwestern?
Back to the old rotation: Rece, Bill, and then Pete to close it.
Okay, I'm going. It's 13. I'm really high on Nebraska. Because surely
which means you're probably high on something else, but
yeah, I know. But I mean, in terms of your luck can't be bad forever. 0-8 in one-score games last year, 5-20 in one-score games under Scott Frost. They lost all 9 games by single digits last year. Nobody's ever done that in the AP poll era. Surely a bounce has to go their way sooner or later. DeColdest Crawford has an NIL deal with an air conditioning company. Surely he can find a way to have them install ductwork into the seat of Scott Frost pants to cool off his rather warm seat. All that said, I cannot, knowing their propensity to play close games, to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, I cannot pick them to cover anything. So I will take Fitzgerald in a bounce back year, even with their predisposition to starting season slowly. I will take Northwestern and the points, with the caveat saying that I think Nebraska is going to have a really improved year. And I think it's going to be a good change for everybody. All of the transfers they have coming in, I think Adrian Martinez is going to be really good at Kansas State. So I think I'm going to say that Nebraska wins the game, but Northwestern keeps it fairly close.
Yeah, the idea of picking against a guy named Pat Fitzgerald in Dublin is rough. Tough. That's kind of tough to overcome. I'm going to overcome it. So we're gonna leave it to Pete, to where he doesn't have to. He can be the tiebreaker on this one. I'm picking Nebraska. They did blow out Northwestern last year. That's how bad things got for Northwestern last year. Yeah, they couldn't keep it close against a team that had every game close. I've always kind of fiddle with the idea of like a close game formula, where yes, it's extremely random in many ways, but if you got the right quarterback play and the right quarterback decision making, you've got good special teams, and then you've got a coach who understands, the proper technique of a 4-minute drill and a 2-minute drill and all those things, that it makes a difference in those close games. Northwestern's been phenomenal in close games through the years, and they never had the quarterback, but they had the right decision making and the right timing and special teams and all that. Nebraska special teams was just egregiously horrible last season. Adrian
and they
Martinez
cheated, by the way, to have an extra coach, and they still were that bad. They got actual NCAA violations for an analyst doing, which they should have had a special teams coordinator. That's another whole other conversation.
Yeah, but what a stupid thing to be worried about with the size of the staffs now. What
I agree,
idiotic thing to.
Florida's team picture had more polos than uniforms in it. I think I think there is a formula, and Nebraska flunked that formula last year, and it wasn't all random, but 0-8 in one-score games. And what was it? What did you say? 5-20 in the Frost era?
5-20. Yeah.
It's not, nobody can be that bad. That's the logic I'm going on. And even if they are bad in close games, again, I don't think this one's going to be particularly close. This is kind of a dare to Northwestern, like, prove you've got anything whatsoever on offense, because it's been a long time. And then after Mike Hagewood's retired last year, the defense took a step back. Maybe that was just a temporary thing, and they'll kind of bounce back. They're using a lot of transfers on the defensive line, because their defensive line is gone from last year, or almost gone. So I feel good. I feel as good as you can possibly feel about picking Nebraska. Five games right out of the gate, I picked Nebraska and UConn, and I'm feeling awesome about
it. Am I crazy to think that Northwestern can just win this game?
No.
I guess a 3-9 team. I mean,
like if this spread was 3.5, I'd be thinking hard about Northwestern. Now, again, last year was 56-7, I believe. So that you can't erase that from your mind, and you have to factor that in. Now, there's so many variables in this game. You're talking about flying overseas. You're talking about a couple of unproven quarterbacks. There's a lot that can happen. I actually think this will be a low scoring and close game. And I think Northwestern covers. Like, I like Ryan Helinski. Again, Fitz said he's not going to name a starter until everything happens. I also like Casey Thompson. I think Casey Thompson's a perfectly functional college quarterback. But any notion that this game is going to be like wide open or ripping. I mean, Northwestern's best player is their left tackle, Peter Skronsky, who I think will be a top 10 pick in the draft. People really, really like him, and I think they will sort of ride that. They'll ride Cam Porter, and I just can't imagine I don't want the feeling Bill's going to have on Saturday. And if I lose, I'll at least lose like having a good day. So no, I will take Northwestern. And if they come back with a win, remember the every other year thing, which I'm sure offends a lot of Bill's analytics. But it is kind of real. And the fact that they can replenish through the portal as they did on the defensive line gives me a little hope we could have Pat Fitzgerald celebrating with a Guinness there. But I do think the Cats cover.
And that's where I am. I think the Cats cover. And how about this one for your every other year deal? They've won the division title twice in 4 years, and the years they didn't, they were 3-9. So, and they went from first in the Big Ten in scoring defense the previous year to last in 21. So, we'll see if
they also lost to Akron one of the years they won the division title, right?
Right. Yeah, there was a year they won the division title and lost every non-conference game, and I don't think any of them were against Power 5 opponents, if memory serves. So they've had some unusual paths to say.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt too that part of the reason Northwestern has a very, very good record through the years in close games is that certain games are close that shouldn't be. And occasionally Akron can kind of flip that script around on them a little bit too.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.